Hi, everybody. Today is going to be a great session with expert nutritionist Milena from Root and Leaf Nutrition. And we are going to talk about ways to optimize egg and sperm health through nutrition. Such a popular topic. And Milena has just written a fantastic article for Fertility Help Hub. The link is in the bio, so everyone should definitely go check that out as well for extra support. And we're going to be joined by her now. Joining. I hope you're doing okay today. If anyone's got any questions as we talk about your own personal goals, then please feel free to ask. Hi, Milena.
Hello there. Hi, Ellie. How
How
are
are
you?
you?
I'm
I'm
okay,
well,
thank
thanks.
you.
Are you enjoying the summer sun?
Kind of, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went away for a week, which was great. Which is great, obviously. Great timing, finally. So
Yes.
yeah.
Good. Well,
Sorry for that.
I've just given you a brief introduction, just saying that you've written a fantastic article for Fertility Help Hub. The link is in the
Sure.
bio. People must check it out now. And if you could just give, a bit of background to your training and who you help, and then we're going to talk about ways to optimize egg and sperm health through nutrition.
Yeah, sure. So just as an introduction, so my name is Milena. The person behind Root and Leaf Nutrition. So I'm a registered nutritional therapist, registered with BAND in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
and I work primarily with couples for fertility, for helping, for supporting their fertility, and also with pregnancy. But can you see me okay? Is the internet all right? Looks like it's
Yes,
pretty
sorry, I
good.
lost the connection for a second, but we're
Oh
we're
no, I
back.
thought it was me, because you never know when you're away, like, if the internet is reliable or not. Yeah, so yes, that's my kind of main specialization is kind of fertility, women's hormones. Really off the back of often what happens is personal experience
Yeah.
with pregnancy, or kind of trying to conceive later in life and really wanting to optimize things as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so it's a real passion of mine, because I could see firsthand how nutrition helped when it came to supporting my own journey, and I see it with my clients as well, how wonderful it is and what kind of big changes it can make. So um, yeah.
So we're going to go into this, obviously, and there'll be people watching who might be trying to conceive naturally. There'll be people watching who might be preparing for treatment, or they might be going through treatment. So if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to just ask away and we'll get through them. Do you want to start by talking about what you wrote about in the article, which people can find on the website? And
Yeah.
then, yeah, or do you want to start with trying to conceive naturally or treatment? How would you like to
Yeah,
discuss
I
it
mean, I'm
today?
okay. I mean, I'm okay to just have a little recap of what I wrote in the article, and of
Please
course
do.
you can go and read it as well. But I mean, in fact, what I did say in the article was actually obviously applies to natural fertility and natural conception, but also applies to, to going through fertility treatment, because working on sperm health and egg health is pretty important in that case too. Really, just to make sure that that cycle, is potentially more successful, and to kind of optimize the chances there too. So, yeah, as a recap, basically the idea was a bit of what we know about egg reserves in women. That originally we thought, I mean, we do think after 35, after the age of 35, kind of our egg reserves go a little bit down, and what also can go down is egg quality, mostly because we're just more kind of more in touch with, like, environmental toxins, or exposed to environmental toxins, and various other things, and life changes obviously as well at that stage, that can have an impact on egg health, and in fact, they can have an impact on our general health, as well as kind of general aging. And if we think about an egg, what in fact it is just a cell basically in our body, and what we want for that egg to, you know, to be of the best quality is to maintain what we call mitochondria. It's mitochondria, so it's kind of cell energy, as it were, and so being able to fight all the kind of free radicals that, you know, we get exposed to through life. So, you know, to optimize that kind of mitochondrial health, you know, there are various things that we can do. We can, you know, first of all, avoid what can be causing more of these free radicals or more of this inflammation. And, you know, some of the things I mentioned to start with in the article was just learning about what not to eat rather than what to eat first. So what to avoid. And, you know, the idea is to have foods that are closest to nature as possible, that, you know, potentially are not packaged, and if, you know, if they are packaged, then basically learning about, you know, what the ingredients are, you know, how many ingredients are there in the first place, and what are those ingredients? Are they even things that you can find in a cupboard, or, you know, or that you can even recognize?
Mm-hmm.
Because mostly what happens, and the body then doesn't know how to deal with them, and therefore, you know, it has to work a little bit harder, as it were, and use sometimes some of those antioxidants that we already have to, you know, for these type of things, versus using them for just our, you know, maintaining our age and health, as it were. So yeah, one of the things I often do with my clients, one of the first things I often do with clients, is teach them how to go around in the supermarket in a way to find, you know, what are the things that are going to be the most beneficial and what are the things I can avoid the most. And sometimes it's really just a matter of looking at the aisles of the supermarket, you know, the outer ones, you know, where you have all the vegetables and fruits are obviously like the first ones to go to, you know, and then, you know,
so
and
stay
then
in the fresh sections,
say in the fresh ones, and then just look at things like, you know, simple things like grain, nuts, seeds, yeah, obviously proteins like animal proteins or vegetarian proteins or these type of things. But then when it comes to kind of getting lured into the aisles with, you know, all the different kind of fancy products, I always kind of try to, you know, teach them to put kind of a little bit of a thinking cap on and say, okay, do I really need these? First of all, can I recreate them in my kitchen more easily with foods, with ingredients, with simple ingredients? And yeah, and if not, just look at the ingredients and figure out whether they're beneficial or not.
So thinking about foods not to eat, the thing that I really struggled with was having a sweet tooth and loving chocolate. What's your advice for people who are trying to find healthier options for treats?
So yeah, the sweet tooth, you know, it's first of all, I would think about what, you know, there's nothing wrong with betting with sweet food, but, you know, when it happens a lot, then what I would think about, okay, what's happening throughout the day for you to kind of feel like you have that kind of craving for sweetness. And sometimes it's about sweet throughout the day in a way that your blood sugar doesn't go too up and down throughout the day. And that's normally, you know, you have that kind of sweet cravings often when maybe your blood sugar has gone down a little bit too much, and, or, you know, it could be situational stress, it could be many things, but, you know, if your blood sugar has gone down a little bit more, then what we do, our body kind of craves for the sugar, because that's the easiest and quickest energy that we can get. The idea there is that perfectly fine, you know, I want something sweet, but then think about how that sweet thing can be combined with something else which can be balance out that blood sugar, and don't kind of put you in that cycle again of wanting something sweet a week, kind of an hour later or something. So the idea is to have something sweet, and, you know, you could have something like dates, but pair it up with something that's got a little bit of proteins and fats, like, you know, it could be a handful of nuts, or it could be nut butters, or, you know, something that, so you can pair it up with something that, you know, that, for example, I always think a sweet tooth often, you know, say, okay, maybe like having Greek yogurt with a little bit of honey and a bit nuts and seeds, a little bit of fruit, that kind of satisfies that kind of sweetness that you want, but somehow it's paired up and it's nicely combined with all these proteins and fats and good fats, obviously, and also fiber. that will make sure that you don't get back into that cycle of wanting something sweet again. And then sometimes it's it's also a question of timing. If you have a sweet tooth after a meal, it's better than having it throughout the day when it's not when you haven't eaten a meal, so your blood sugar may be less balanced. So after a meal you already had something else from the meal, so that blood sugar can be more balanced.
And talking about foods not to eat, what about drinks not to drink as well?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there is always, anything that is too sugary, of course, has the same kind of effect on our body in terms of blood sugar, and wanting us to get something sweet again, because our blood sugar goes up and down from that point of view. So anything like fizzy drinks that are that are too sweet, even sometimes if you think of juices that they're not necessarily fresh, they may not have that much of the vitamins that you think they do have in them because they're pasteurized perhaps, but they just raise your blood sugar, may not be the best things. And of course alcohol in excessive amounts is not beneficial as well, for many other reasons, because it affects liver as well, which is quite important for hormones metabolism, so, and obviously toxins and things like that. So yeah, again, stay as natural as you can from that point of view, I would say. And if you do fancy something different, there's so many ways of just adding, even having sparkling water in a nice glass sometimes with a little bit of herbs, a little bit of kind of frozen fresh lime, or sometimes I add frozen berries, just to add a little bit of color as well. It's kind of it just gives you that kind of sense of having something fancy.
Yeah.
Very hydrating and good for you anyway. So yeah.
Definitely. And what about lifestyle factors as well as diet? What about lifestyle factors to improve sperm and egg health?
So obviously there are quite a lot of things to consider. So it's not just about food, but it's important to consider things like sleep, for example. Sleep, because of melatonin, which is what we produce when we sleep or when we come down in the evening. So having a good sleep hygiene is important. That helps a lot with egg health. So it's really fundamental. It's one of the things you really can't skip on, unfortunately.
I know.
And and then if you think about the antioxidants idea, that the idea that of combating free radicals, a way of kind of mopping up those free radicals is also doing exercise, or moderate exercise, or just movement in general. It doesn't have to be anything too intense, it doesn't have to be anything too crazy, it just has to be something you enjoy, ideally, because obviously that helps with the stress response as well. And helps with those free radicals. Obviously, avoiding toxins in the first place, is important from a lifestyle point of view, because obviously those toxins are pro-inflammatory and create oxidative stress in the body, which is what we want to reduce as much as possible, as we just said. So things like BPA from plastics, for example, toxins from pesticides, for example, from non-organic vegetables, which it's a matter of learning which vegetables would be most normally sprayed with pesticides. For example, berries are heavily sprayed with pesticides, so a good idea to have them organic. Which ones are less sprayed with pesticides, which you can go for in a standard vegetables. Things like phthalates as well, coming potentially from cleaning products, or kind of makeup, shampoos, conditioners, that kind of stuff, or even your sunscreen, if you think about the sun, right? So and the vitamin D would also be another one to touch on. So yeah, looking at the ingredients again, of things, and just being mindful of what's in there, and what can I do that is more natural, more close to nature when it comes to that.
So thinking about egg health, because we've had some questions from a couple of readers, do you have any suggestions for someone who is on a low carb diet to improve
Mm-hmm.
egg health?
So, so yeah, so the low carb diet, the first of all, it's quite important that, you know, it's quite nice that being on a low carb diet, you potentially are reducing, first of all, that kind of blood sugar kind of roller coaster that we talked about, which is obviously beneficial to ovarian health, reducing that obviously. And so you potentially reducing things like, you know, grains and a lot of refined carbohydrates. That's already a good start, as it were. The thing I would think about is when you're on a low carb diet, then what you normally do is eat things like high in fats and high in proteins, and you know, and then basically looking at the sources of those foods that are high in fat and high protein. So concentrating on the ones that are really the most anti-inflammatory, in terms of choosing oils, for example, going for, you know, things that are the least processed, like not non-vegetable oils, for example. Going for the most natural kind of olive oil is amazing. You know, you can I'm a big fan of olive oil, you know that.
Yeah, Mediterranean diet, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, extra virgin olive oil is fantastic. But also things like avocados, oily fish, nuts and seeds have a lot of good fats as well. So you know, and also when it comes to if you're having animal protein, which animal protein is you having? Obviously, processed red meat is not ideal, you know, but kind of occasional good quality grass-fed meat is great, is, you know, is okay. But then also concentrating on things like other things like fish, eggs, and yeah, white meats, kind of chicken, turkey is quite, you know, it would be quite good. And the other thing to think about when you're on a low carb diet is really making sure that, you know, eating that the rainbow, which I
Yeah,
mentioned in the article,
you
you
do.
know, managing to kind of get all of those antioxidants from the different fruit and vegetables, from you know, the different colors of the spectrum
Hmm.
is so important, because you need that to also help your gut microbiome, and you'll need that to just get a lot of the you know, vitamins and nutrients that you need for egg health as well. So really looking at your plate and concentrating on you know, having a lot of those colors from fruit
Hmm.
and vegetables. And of course, probably low carb, you know, people will go for lower glycemic index kind of things. So, you know, maybe not for things like bananas or, you know, pineapple or whatever, or more like things like berries, which are still very beneficial. But also consider that there will be part of your cycle, after ovulation especially, where actually our body is geared up to wanting more carbs. It's and kind of also burning more carbs. So, you know, even kind of giving yourself a little bit of slack in terms of having maybe more root vegetables towards the second half of your period, even on a low carb diet, could be helpful as well.
Great,
Just
thank you.
yeah.
Another question that's come in, best ways to lose weight without damaging egg health?
Do it very slowly. You know, considering doing it slowly without crash dieting, in a way that is kind of, you know, it's about learning really how to eat and balance things out in your plate, as we said, you know, looking at the rainbow, but also looking at what are the, you know, the portions of carbs, proteins, and healthy fats in that meal, whether it's a snack or whether it's a full meal, that really can help you, you know, balance that blood sugar that we talked about, which obviously has an impact on weight too. And you know, and kind of doing things slowly, because you know, when we kind of crash diet, we also can release a lot of toxins in our bloodstream, and we really don't want that when you're kind of trying to conceive. So finding a kind of consistent kind of and easy, well, not easy, but it was never obviously that easy sometimes, you know, to his way, but kind of finding a way that is easy for you to work on long term, not in a crash diet situation, which obviously causes a lot of stress on your body as well, and that stress will have an impact on your hormones too. But kind of slow and steady will be good. I mean, starting from a low carb but kind of more kind of Mediterranean diet is a good idea, for example.
Yeah. And thinking about sperm health, is there any difference with what we do for men's health and nutrition versus female health and nutrition, egg health and nutrition?
Yeah, so I mean, all of the nutrients that really come in mind that I mentioned, or some of them, and I mentioned also in the article. So all the nutrients coming from like fruit and vegetables, like vitamin C, for example, which is a great antioxidant, or vitamin E that is coming from, you know, nuts and seeds, as well as, you know, as well as things like selenium or glutathione, you know, and then we mentioned like CoQ10. Those are all you know, quite important for sperm health too, and zinc as well. So yeah, pretty much like all of the things that are good for egg health are also good for sperm health. Maybe there are a couple of antioxidants like lycopene, which has been proven to help sperm health. Lycopene is found in raw cooked tomatoes, not raw tomatoes.
Okay.
Cooked tomatoes.
Okay,
so anything like tomato sauces or tomato puree, you know, sometimes even just a spoonful of that a day for men is very helpful for sperm health, for example. And yeah, so those antioxidants would be, you know, there is what the little swimmers need as well, in the same way as eggs need to.
Would you suggest that men take more prenatal vitamins, fertility supplements, as well as women?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, and I mean, there's obviously on the market quite a few now men related fertility supplements that could be helpful. But I mean, equally, I mean, for me in general, it's really about a food approach first, because a lot of the foods, even if we think about all the B vitamins, including folate, which are very important for fertility for both men and women, you know, they all come together in foods. You know, all the B vitamins will come together, like, for example, in animal proteins, as well as things like green leafy vegetables and pulses and lentils. You know, they all come packaged already in food. So really thinking about food first for me is kind of is crucial, and kind of concentrating on that first would be it's the kind of the first step.
Great advice, thank you. Does anyone who's watching have any questions for Milena about egg or sperm health, what to eat, what not to eat, supplements to consider? You mentioned vitamin D in the article. We know that we've been lacking it in the UK. We have it now, finally.
Finally.
It's taken a while, hasn't it?
So get out there now. Yeah, so yeah, vitamin D is amazing. I mean, it's obviously one of the fundamentals for general health in general. It's just implicating so many functions in our bodies that, you know, it's quite it's no surprise that it's so important for fertility too, really. The best way to have vitamin C, obviously exposure to sun without sunscreen, and, you know, at a particular time of the day. I mean, the UK, you can do that between 10 and 3 p.m. So it's obviously quite important to do it, like, crucially, you know, to do it safely, you know, without obviously burning yourself in a kind of balanced way. So normally 10-15 minutes a day would give you enough vitamin D for, you know, for you to kind of bring it up, as well as kind of store it for the summer. But equally, because in the UK we do not have that much sun, it's really so important to test for vitamin D, knowing what your levels are, and then supplementing based on those levels, versus just taking a maintenance dose, which may not be enough sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. Someone's asked how much CQ10 to take a day for fertility. Does it depend on the person? CQ10?
It will depend on the person. I mean, the other thing I was mentioning in the article was, you know, you can get certain some of these important antioxidants from food. CoQ10 obviously is produced in our bodies, and over time, as we age, the production decreases. But you know, there are foods, and sometimes some of these foods kind of are falling out of fashion, but there are foods like organ meats, especially heart, you know, which is where in our body as well most of the CoQ10 is concentrated, as it were. That you can try, as it were. You know, there are some kind of traditional cultures that use these foods in a way to, you know, somehow in preparation for preconception. They kind of consider fertility foods, and as you know, and then you think about it, that the reason for it is because they have all of these important antioxidants, including CoQ10. And you can find CoQ10 in other things, in other animal foods like venison as well, for example. I mentioned a few more in the article too. So yeah, go and check them out.
And also, people looking for supplementation on the new Fertility Help Hub website, there's a shop which has got discounts and offers, so you can take advantage of any there. And Milena can consult for you personally if you want to find out which supplementation or which diet plan might be best for you based on your own personal needs and fertility journey. Someone has just agreed with you and said that it took 3 blood tests to find out that she had low vitamin D. Something that was recommended to me, actually, to go and test quite early vitamin D levels, which I never had even thought about, and I think I was low too. But
yeah,
guess,
it's really common to be low. It's actually quite rare not to be in the good kind of optimal level without supplementing.
Another question for you before we talk about something exciting that you're just launching. Someone is asking about folate versus, well, she said, I am compound heterozygous and have been advised to take methylfolate, but can folate help prevent neurotubal defects, or is folic the form?
So if you compound, so heterozygous, I never know say hetero.
I know.
I don't know how to pronounce that. For MTHFR, I'm guessing, which is a gene that you know, regulates, well, implicated in our folate metabolism, as it were, and methylation. Folic acid, methylfolate is actually more beneficial in terms of your body being able to utilize it and kind of convert it into what it needs to do in that methylation cycle. Folic acid is not always ideal because sometimes it kind of can back things up in that methylation cycle. So I would definitely kind of have a preference for methylfolate when it comes to that, especially if you have that information. Normally, I would recommend methylfolate in the first place because we assume many people have these kind of SNPs, they're called genetic mutations on that gene. You know, but now, you know, considering the fact that you know that, then definitely would go for methylfolate.
Thank you. And what about anything?
Folinic acid is also good. Folinic acid, which is different from folic acid, is also a good option too. Yeah.
Good to know. Thank you, Milena. Anything for low, very low egg reserve?
So, I mean, when it comes to egg reserves, you know, we know we have to be realistic in terms of the fact that unfortunately after a certain age those egg reserves go down, but it's the egg quality that we really want to concentrate on, you know, at that stage. And you know, it's funny, but actually when you do look after your nutrition, when you think you have low egg reserves, you know, think about that all that nutrition actually gets concentrated on those fewer eggs that are there. So it's easier to work on the quality of your eggs if you really kind of look at the quality and look at improving that egg health in that context. So yeah, and it also depends what you know, what was that told you that you had low egg reserves as well.
Okay, thank you. Now tell us about your masterclass, which is on the 10th of June.
Yes, so I do have a masterclass coming up. It's really about pretty much, you know, a continuation of what we're talking about now. It's really about navigating the confusing information about what to eat and what not to eat for fertility, what, you know, what to add, what to what to avoid, and what things are, there are some kind of myths or controversies about that we don't know, like soy, for example, that we don't know whether we shouldn't eat. And so kind of putting things in context in a way that it's easy for you to navigate. And finally, we'll try to kind of get some examples in, so you can see what a plate should look like, and kind of that, as a starting point for really kind of focusing on food first, as I said, when it comes to fertility and nutrition. And that's on the 10th of June. Yeah.
10th of June. Okay. What time and how can people sign up if they'd like more information?
So it's 8 p.m. 10th of June, and you can sign up going to either to the article on Fertility Help Hub. At the bottom of the article there is a link,
which I've put in the link in the bio, by the way, in case anyone wants to find it straight away.
Lovely. It's called Refuel Your Fertility, the masterclass. And or equally you can go to my own Instagram account. There will also be a link in the bio there.
Okay. And is the masterclass free?
Yes, it's free. Yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And additionally to the masterclass, which everyone should take advantage of for that information, you have a special discount for Fertility Help Hub readers. So if anyone would like a one-on-one with Milena and to talk about their personal needs, like we just discussed before, whether that's supplementation, diet, optimization, whatever it might be, then please do get in touch with her via me or directly. You can use code FHH to get 10% off. So thank you so much for giving that to our readers.
No problem. Pleasure.
And does anyone else have any questions before we finish today? Or is there anything else you want to touch on, Milena, that you think people should know about?
No, I mean, obviously, if you do have questions and you think it will take a little bit longer than just to type them up or whatever, or get in touch, there is always the option to have a discovery call for me. So you just can go either to my Instagram account, rootandleaf.nutrition, or my website, rootandleafnutrition.com, and just book in a discovery call. And and then we can have a chat there. And okay. I'll always try to kind of at least give a good tip from one of those discovery calls. So hopefully, that would be able to help too.
Okay. Someone has asked, saying that they will be having an egg retrieval at the end of the month. What do you recommend for the rest of the month that they should concentrate on in terms of diet? And to this person, I would say definitely sign up to the masterclass, because that's before your retrieval, so you can have more information. And the masterclass is through the article, which is in the link in bio, or you can contact Milena through Root and Leaf Nutrition. And sorry, Catherine has said, what is the discount code again? FHH for Fertility Help Hub for 10% off with anything with Milena, but her masterclass is free. So see me, you can take advantage of that. But just quickly before we wrap up, what would you say for someone who is approaching egg retrieval?
So it's quite close by. So on top of nutrition, which all the good kind of antioxidants that we talked about, really concentrating on that, I would say help. Melatonin. I was thinking sleep, right? Sleep would be fundamental, and sleep and stress management, and really gentle exercise. Nothing like too strenuous, nothing too crazy. Would be very beneficial from that point of view.
Walking and things like that.
Pardon?
Walking and things like that.
Yeah, walking and things. Yes, walking. And when I think about eggs as well, sometimes I think choline, which is found in egg yolks as well. I always think there's always that connection again in nature, right, with this type of foods. So that will also be quite important to concentrate.
Eggs are good for eggs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been so beneficial, and I can't wait to hear about the masterclass, and everyone should go and check it out on the 10th of June and sign up now. So thank you for that, and thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.